Thank you for taking the time to listen in. Alright, Anisha, what are we going to be talking about today?
So today we are going talking about a magazine called Consumer Behavior and Economic Distribution in Singapore.
This magazine introduces two key economic concepts, which is consumer behavior and economic distribution, with a focus in Singapore. Consumer behavior examines how individuals or groups make decisions about purchasing and using goods and services. It helps us understand why consumers prefer certain products, how they decide what and how much to buy, and how they aim to maximize satisfaction within their income. On the other hand, the theory of economic distribution looks at how income and resources are shared across society. It focuses on the four factors of production, which is land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. And the returns they generate, which is rent, wages, interest, and profit. In Singapore, understanding these theories is crucial for addressing consumer needs, shaping policies, and ensuring fair and efficient resource allocation.
Okay, what do you think are the importance of this concept in real-world economic situation?
I think businesses can use the theory of consumer behavior in order to increase sales. For example, a fast food chain may offer combo deals in order to attract consumers, as it would be seen as higher value. As for the theory of economic distribution, it can be used as a guideline for worker compensation. For example, a corporate company such as Apple can use the theory of economic distribution as a guideline in order to pay their employees fairly according to experience and skill set.
The author really went into detail in this magazine. What do you think his objectives while writing this magazine?
I think that the author intended for this magazine to serve as a study on the theory of consumer behavior and the theory of economic distribution. The theory of consumer behavior can help us acquire better spending habits as well as becoming smarter consumers. As for the theory of economic distribution, it can help us to gauge whether we are being compensated fairly or if we are compensating our employees fairly.
Alright, I can see that our first guest is here.
Thank you very much for coming on our show today, Amirul.
Yeah, thanks for taking your time in order to talk to us.
It's not a big deal. We are longer friends after all.
So, Amirul, you know the reason why we've invited you here?
No, not really. Tell me.
Well, the reason we invite you is to talk about key magazine titled Consumer Behavior and Economic Distribution in Singapore.
That's right. To explain briefly, the magazine is an overview of consumer behavior and economic distribution, as well as the importance of these concepts in real-world situations. You wouldn't have happened to already get this magazine, have you?
I have actually read the magazine in the past. I was recommended it read by my friend.
That's surprising. Alright then, what part of the magazine do you find interesting?
The part that I found most interesting is about the theory of consumer behavior. The magazine taught me about concept of utility.
Utility, huh? Tell us more.
Well, utility can be defined as the satisfaction that consumer obtain from the consuming of goods and service. It's also measured using the index called UTIS.
Oh, so for example, if I buy a handbag, my satisfaction will come from its utility?
It's not that simple. We have to also consider something called total utility. Total utility refers to the satisfaction a consumer receives from the product to consume. In other words, the total utility refers to a sum of utility that every consumer receives from the consuming of every unit in community given a period of time.
There was this one time where I bought an item. I was really happy about the purchase, that I wanted to buy another one. But when I bought the second item, I wasn't as happy. Is this in any way related to the theory of consumer behavior?
It's related to something we call marginal utility.
Marginal utility? What is that?
To simplify, marginal utility refers to the change in satisfaction resulting from consuming an additional amount of goods and service. To put it another way, marginal utility refers to the additional unit of commodity. So marginal utility can be derived as the change in total utility with respect to the change in units of quantity that commodity consume.
Wait. How does that relate to my problem?
What you experienced was the law of diminishing marginal utility. The law of diminishing marginal utility states the utility gains from the consumer from successive unit of particular product, diminishing as total consumption of the product increase while the consumption of another product remain constant.
Are you able to explain more detail?
Sure. Imagine you are really thirsty after a run. The first glass of the water feel amazing. The second glass still good but not satisfying. The third glass, you don't enjoy it much and might even feel full. This shows diminishing marginal utility. The more you consume, the less extra satisfaction you get. This why you are only buy more than something if it's cheaper.
Wow, you were joking when you said you were interested in this topic. Anything else about this topic that you'd like to mention, or can we end this session right here?
There are one more thing. is about something known as consumer equilibrium. Consumer equilibrium is the situation when a customer consumes the best possible combination of two goods with a limited amount of income. It is achieved when the indifferent curve is tangent with the budget line that represents the best combination of two goods with a given income. The position of consumer equilibrium is determined by the point with its budget in the line tangent to indifferent curve.
While you look at the time, well, thank you very much, Amir, but I'm afraid we will have to end our session right now here because we have no guests waiting in line to discuss this interview.
Thanks for having me, everyone. It's been a honor having able to speak on this podcast.
Alright. Welcome back, everybody.
Sorry for topic everyone, but now let's welcome our second guest, Faris Muzaffar.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. So Faris, you know why you're here?
Yes, I do actually. I'm here to talk about the younger time, about consumer behavior, and also economic distribution in Singapore. And yes, I have read it before.
Yeah, I want to tell you about why we are going to art.
Yes, it did actually.
You were just supposed to do that. Anyways, Faris, which part of this magazine piqued your interest?
Oh, my favorite part of the magazine is about the theory of economic distribution. In this bigger time, I learned about how Singapore achieved its equilibrium wage, as well as how the National Wage Council tripartite body that issues guidelines on wage adjustment, especially for local wage workers, plays an influence.
Interesting. Could there be other factors into the equilibrium rates?
Exactly, which are not static, separate forces can shift the balance of supply and demand. As a highly open economy, global demand for Singapore as for electronic, pharmaceutical, and financial service directly impact the demand for labour in this sector, leading to higher wage. Singapore economic strategy hints on skill future, which boosts productivity and wage by enhancing skills. Automation and R&D investment also play a significant role.
Okay, so let's say there's a perfectly competitive labour market where there's many employees looking for employees and there's many employees looking for work. How would that situation play out?
In this situation, we could determine wage by looking at two factors, which is the supply of labour and demand for labour. For supply of labour, individuals decide how much labour to supply based on wage rates. Moreover, Singapore manages foreign labour due to tight domestic supply, and its education system shapes available skills. As for the demand, Singaporean brings hire workers based on how much additional revenue their labour bring in. In a highly productive economy, companies continue to invest in upskilling their workforce to ensure that workers generate high value, justifying competitive wage.
Labour is a factor of production and its reward is fixed. Am I right?
Yes, that's right.
I have heard that there are other factors of production such as land, capital, and entrepreneurial. What could their reward be?
Land, capital, entrepreneurship are important parts of production, and each has its own reward. Land earns rent, which is a payment for using natural resources that are limited, like an asset. Capital, such as machine, tools, or money, earns interest. Business pay this to use those resources in production. Entrepreneurs earn profit, which is what's left after paying all the costs of running the business. There are two types of profit. First one is normal profits, and the second one is economic profit. Normal profit is the minimum an entrepreneur needs to stay in business. It covers the time, efforts, and the income they could have earned as well. In Singapore, the system helps business earn at least this level of profit to stay sustainable. Economic profit is any extra profit earned beyond normal profit. It shows the business is doing, especially when it's often found in innovative industries but may not last long because of competition.
I see. So, what can I see from this topic is that wages and the rewards of factors of production are all still based on supply and demand.
That's it about right. Economy is much an interesting topic. Don't you agree?
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
But unfortunately, our time has run short here in this session and we must move on to our next guest. Thanks again to our good friend Faris Muzaffar for coming here and giving his thoughts.
Welcome, I appreciate you.
Welcome back everyone. Here we are with our final guest, Aira.
Hey everyone, it's finally nice to be here for once.
Alright, Ira. Have you heard about the magazine titled The Theory of Consumer Behavior and Economic Distribution in Singapore?
I have. It's in my list as one of the most interesting magazines that I've read.
We have recently discussed about the theory of economic distribution and how ways are disproved. So, Aira, do you think that a way for consumer welfare could be enhanced?
I think that consumer welfare can be enhanced by implementing policies such as smart spending initiative and consumer protection laws.
Wow, you're thinking like a lawyer right now. What can these policies achieve?
To state the obvious, this policy aims to enhance consumer welfare and income distribution. The smart spending initiative policy aims to help consumers manage their finance wisely and make informed choices. One common approach is integrating financial education into school lessons. Given example, Singapore's education system includes financial literacy lessons. Students learn practical budgeting skills early, helping them avoid debt and make responsible spending decisions. Now, let's talk about consumer protection laws. This law aims to prevent deceptive practice and ensure fair transaction. This law regulates businesses to safeguard consumers from fraud or misleading advertising. Actually, there is one company, Stera, who claimed that tap water was unsafe to drink in order to advertise their product, but was intervened by the Singaporean government so that consumers are protected from false advertising.
What do you think about enhancing wage fairness then in foreign countries such as USA? I have heard that some occupations are underpaid, such as teacher, restaurant staff, not to mention fast food and retail workers. Does Singapore have this problem, in your opinion?
I don't think so. In Singapore, the government has set minimum wage adjustments, particularly in low-income sectors to ensure fair compensations. These wages are often adjusted over time based on cost of living charges. For example, a cleaner in Singapore must earn at least 1,600 per month, with salaries gradually increasing in response to living costs.
600? That's more than I make. However, I heard that the rent in Singapore is crazy expensive due to factors such as limited land, high demand, and economic conditions. How do you think this Singaporean government is able to combat this issue?
Yes, Singapore is a pretty small country after all.
The Singapore government can implement rent regulation strategies in order to ensure housing remains affordable and prevents excessive rent increases. One method implemented is rent controls. Rent controls limit how much landlords can increase rent, keep housing costs stable for tenants. Another way rent is kept down is by public house expansion. Expanding public houses ensures more affordable options for low-income families, reducing reliance on costly private rentals. Singapore's Housing Development Board program invests heavily in high-quality public housing, offering subsidized flats to help citizens access stable and affordable homes.
There's a lot of problems that the lower class have to face. It's not fair that there's upper class people that don't do anything to help them.
That's sad, but it's the truth unfortunately. Luckily, the Singaporean government used profit distribution policies to ensure that fair economic growth and support businesses while reducing wealth inequality. This is done through progressive tax actions. This ensures that the higher income individuals and businesses pay a larger percentage of their earnings in taxes, funding social progress for economic stability. The Singaporean government also helps small businesses to get a leg up. Small businesses are given financial support, tax breaks, or grants to encourage small business growth, fostering entrepreneurship and job creation. For example, Singapore's Productivity Solutions Grant (PSG) offers funding to help SMEs adopt digital tools and automation, boosting efficiency while lowering operational costs.
This community is pretty informational, you know.
I couldn't agree more. I've learned that the theory of consumer behavior and the theory of economic distribution are essentials in a functioning economy.
Theory of consumer behavior explores how individuals make decisions based on preference, budget constraints, and utility maximization. It explains demand, pattern, and consumption choice, offering insight into market trends and helping predict economic shift. As for the theory of economic distribution, it's focused on how income and wealth are allocated among factors of production such as land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. This theory helps us understand the mechanism behind wage labor, profit margin, and resource allocation. When combined with effective policy recommendation such as progressive taxation, targeted subsidy, and minimum wage law, this theory can guide government in promoting fairness and economic efficiency not only in Singapore, but can also be used here in Malaysia.
So do you think it's important for us to understand this concept?
Yes, I think the importance of understanding consumer behavior lies in its ability to reflect broader economic change. A sudden shift in consumer confidence or spending pattern can signal economic instability or growth. Likewise, factors reward such as waste, rent, interest, and profit directly influence income distribution and economic inequality. Ensuring these rewards are fair and balanced is crucial to maintaining social harmony and economic stability.
Well, that's true. If we look ahead, future improvement in understanding consumer behavior could come through better data analytics, behavioral economics, and technological innovation. By gaining deeper insights into consumer motivations and spending habits. Businesses and governments can design more responsive policies and products, creating a more inclusive and resilient economy.
Thank you, Ira. Well, I think we've gone on long enough for this podcast session. I'm sure everyone is tired, so I think we are going to end this podcast right here. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Bye.